Hello everybody, Awesome Raichu here. I hope you all are having yourselves a good day so far because I'm about to make it even better. With only a week to go until the release of the 9th generation of Pokemon, the hype is certainly real with this generation. Now I'm not going to spoil any information about the games because I want to wait until the release so that I can make a full video on them. All you need to know before release is that all the Pokemon are fantastic. The names are the best we've seen in generations, the designs are top notch, and the stats are unfathomably busted. This generation's competitive scene is going to be quite the doozy if I say so. But while I was looking at these excellent designs, that had me thinking, if some of these Pokemon were to become my favorite Pokemon of a certain type, what are currently my least favorite Pokemon of a type? It's a question I've been having for some while now, as although there are a ton of Pokemon I do love to no end, there are of course Pokemon I hate to no end. So join me as I talk about my least favorite Pokemon of each type. Before we start, I'd like to say these are all my personal opinions, so please don't be upset because your favorite Pokemon is on this list. If you are interested, however, why not you tell me your least favorite Pokemon of each type down in the comments below? And while you're down there, why not click on the big red box? It doesn't hurt. I get a subscriber and you get a YouTuber to watch. And with that, let's kick off this list. Starting our list off is a grass type from the Sinnoh region, the Blossom Pokemon, Cherrim. Now, before anyone gets mad at me that Cherrim is on this list, I'd like to say that I only put Cherrim here because there weren't any bad options for grass types. Grass types are actually a well-designed typing, and only picking one to trash was kinda difficult. So while Cherrim itself isn't a bad Pokemon, it definitely radiates mediocrity. The design in its standard form is rather uninteresting, and although its sunny day form is quite cute, that's really all there is to note about Cherrim. Well, okay, there's that fact that it's seemingly impossible to catch a Legends Arceus, having only a 1% chance to appear, and it will take about 50 plus Pokeballs to catch it. But aside from those two traits, Cherrim just isn't that interesting in my eyes. Its stats are mediocre, move pool is just bad, and you would never pick Cherrim over any other grass type unless it was your favorite Pokemon. But you know who is a bad Pokemon that no one would even use even if it was their favorite? The Anteater Pokemon, Heatmor. This fire type is not only a disgrace to the excellent Unova Pokédex, but is also one of the worst Pokemon to exist. I understand using bad Pokemon because they are your favorite, but has anyone ever used Heatmor unironically before? Because I can't find a time anyone even mentioned Heatmor. The only thing to talk about Heatmor is its stupid design and its ridiculously good shiny. But outside of shiny hunting, you're never going to hear anyone talk about this terrible fire type. Its stats suck, its abilities are mediocre, and to add the cherry to this upsetting sundae, it has a wonderful move pool it literally cannot use because it's too slow and frail. It's almost crazy that its rival, Durant, a Pokemon who is quad weak to Heatmor, is far, far better than it is in every way imaginable. Design? Durant. Stats? Durant. Abilities? Durant. Move pool? Durant. Viability? Take a wild guess. These two are a perfect example of most duo Pokemon. One of them is a good Pokemon, while the other one is far too high maintenance to even bother using. Overall, Heatmor is just not good. Next up is the water type, and this entry is going to take you aback. My least favorite water type Pokemon is Greninja. I hate this Pokemon a lot. I hate its Stung Scarf, I hate how it overshadows the whole Kalos Dex, I hate how it overshadows Ash's Kalos team as a whole, I hate how it's the only Kalos starter to be gifted a special form while Chestnut and Delphox were never even given an ounce of attention, I hate fighting it in competitive play as it's almost an auto-win Pokemon, I hate how overrated it is, I just hate Greninja. There's nothing else more I can say. So before you light those torches, let's go on to the electric type. And for our electric type entry, we actually have a bit of a special case here. While we don't necessarily have a Pokemon on this list, we have a group of Pokemon. You could call this cheating, and it is, but like, I have no problem putting all of the Pika clones on here, except for Pichu, Marill, and Pawmi. Pichu because it's the pre-evolution of Pikachu, Marill because I could see that being seen as its own Pokemon that just so happens to share a resemblance to Pikachu, and Palmy because it's cute, and also, unlike most Pika clones, actually will evolve, which is quite impressive. You know what's not impressive though? The Pika clones themselves. They're all weak, all frail, and get outclassed by a majority of electric types. But here's something notable to note about them. They all have a higher base stat total than Pikachu. I'm not making this up. That's kinda cool though, but also sad. And it's even more sad when I say that's literally the only good thing I could say about these guys. I hate Pokemon that are forced upon as being cute or whatnot, and the Pika clones, except for Palmy, are not up my alley. Another Pokemon that's not up my alley is my least favorite normal type, Purugly. I mean, it has ugly in the name. I know it's intentional, but still. Fighting the cat in-game is also ugly, as I'm pretty sure most players who played Sinnoh as a whole will remember Mars' infamous Purugly. Yet when you use this cat, it's not only puzzling how it's faster than both Lati twins, but it's also puzzling how this Pokemon was a threat in the early game with a base 84 attack stat. Purugly is just a Pokemon I could never see myself using over something like Tauros, or any normal type for that matter. It's ugly, but I didn't expect it to be this ugly. But you know who else is ugly? The ice type Pokemon, Jynx. Now, humanoid Pokemon are quite a subjective topic in the fan base, as what makes a good humanoid Pokemon and a bad humanoid Pokemon is quite a dicey criteria. But in my opinion, a good humanoid Pokemon is a Pokemon that can simultaneously balance human and animal traits really well. Take Scrafty, for example. Although it's based on a lizard and has a reptile-like body, its clothing and attitude are that of a human trait, so Scrafty succeeds in being a humanoid Pokemon. Jynx, on the other hand, isn't so fortunate. The sharp hips just look really awkward, the fingers just make me don't even want to be near this thing, and it's a Pokemon I would never want to be in the same room at. Another humanoid Pokemon I would never want to be in the same room with would be Hitmonchan. This thing is just straight up ugly. Like, really ugly. It always baffles me that many fans will point to the Pokemon on screen and consider these guys ugly, but will never point the finger at Hitmonchan. It's the same problem I have with Jynx, in which it fails as a humanoid Pokemon. But in Hitmonchan's case, it's almost too human. Like, seriously, you could say Hitmonchan is just a dude, and I would believe you for a second. There isn't anything that makes me say, oh yeah, this is a Pokemon. No, Hitmonchan is just a person. And sadly, it's an ugly looking one. And it's also unfortunate that it's the least good of the Hitmon trio in competitive and in design. Let's escape those humanoid-like Pokemon and get to a more simple-like Pokemon. How about poison types next? Much like grass types, there aren't really that many poison types I dislike, as like grass, I'd say poison is a top tier typing in terms of the design. So sadly, like Cherrim, that means Arbok is ending up on this list. Now again, Arbok itself isn't a Pokemon I necessarily hate, it's just a Pokemon that isn't good. The stats are mediocre, the abilities are good, and while the move pool is decent, it's not enough to save Arbok from being completely useless in competitive play. Again, I don't hate Arbok, it's a decent Pokemon, but for poison type standards, it's quite underwhelming, much like my least favorite ground type. Gosh, I really have to diss my favorite type. This is going to hurt. Oh wait, no it's not, because my least favorite ground type is ground type Sandy Cloak Wormadam. Does anyone remember these guys? Because I didn't when making this list. I originally was going to put Dugtrio on this list, but it was saved at the last minute by Wormadam's sheer existence. As for Wormadam, it's Wormadam. Do I even really need to go on? Stats suck, move pool's good, abilities suck, and its slow is trash. Literally. Another trash mon is the flying type Delibird. Thank goodness this thing's getting buffed in Scarlet and Violet, because for a long time, Delibird has been a laughingstock of all Pokemon fans. It has awful stats, 2 moves by level up, a decent move pool, garbage abilities, a dumb design, and is a pain to catch. It's certainly Delibird, alright. Okay, next mon. Ugh. I have to talk about Hypno now. Okay, strap yourselves in, because this is going to be a long entry. Before I go any further, I would like to say this is going to have some rather disturbing contents in this entry. So if you are sensitive to some of these subjects, I'd let this timestamp for you all to skip past so that you can stay safe. You've been warned. Now let me start this off by saying Hypno is my least favorite Pokemon of all time. I hate everything about it. And no, I don't love it. The design just makes me feel uncomfortable. To sound weird for a bit, I hate the design because it's built. And I don't mean it's built as in it's strong and muscular. I mean it's built in which it has more bulk than it should. It almost has the body of a strangler, which I see fitting as its Pokedex entries all talk about how it kidnaps children and lures them to places far from society. In fact, in Pokemon Fire Red and Leaf Green, there is a side mission where you have to save a girl named Lostel from a Hypno who kidnapped her. That's just gross, much like the fact that Hypno has appeared in half of the special artwork created by fans. In these masterpieces, Hypno can be seen doing magic. I'm not going to elaborate any further than that statement. I'll let the smart people figure that out for themselves. But don't get too down. I'll tell you another thing about Hypno I absolutely hate. Hypno's Lullaby, a creepypasta in which Hypno goes around hypnotizing children and even adults, lures them away from their homes, and brutally tortures and kills them. It's a highly spine-chilling creepypasta that makes me hate this yellow thing even more. And on top of all of that disturbing content, Hypno sucks. Its stats other than its special defense are below 80, the abilities are useless, the move pool is decent, but no matter how good the move pool is, there is no denying that Hypno is slow and frail, meaning it's worthless. And that is a good way to end this entry. It's worthless. I never liked Hypno. I never will like Hypno. And nothing, I mean nothing, will ever dethrone Hypno as my least favorite Pokemon of all time. Let's escape that creepy Pokemon and go to yet another creepy Pokemon. My least favorite bug type, Parasect. Bug is such a cool typing. In fact, it's my second favorite typing. I love a majority of the bug types for their cute and cool designs. And then there's Parasect, who just exist in my opinion. The only thing that's unique about Parasect is that its one signature move was the Excellent Spore. It's almost cringe-inducing that Parasect, an otherwise awful Pokemon, had an excellent move like Spore be its signature move for some time, as Parasect's other qualities don't make up for Spore's specialty. Its stats are below average, the move pool is quite decent, and the abilities are actually good. So wait, we actually have a good Pokemon. Why is it here then? Simple. The speed. That speed pretty much ruins Parasect. Not only does that mean you are getting hit first, it means you're likely to be taken out before you can do anything at all. And with two quad weaknesses, yeah, there's no chance of that ever happening. And even if you could survive and do something with Parasect, what are you going to do? Because there's really not an awful lot you can do with Parasect that other bugs literally can't do any better. Parasect is a Pokemon that makes the bug typing look bad, and it's almost upsetting. If you want an excellent bug grass type, use Leavanny. She's fast, has good offenses, is a good support mon, has decent abilities, a much friendlier design, and is just a cooler Pokemon overall. Parasect, meanwhile, isn't cool. Another Pokemon that was never cool is the rock-type Pokemon Stonjourner. Now, I'm good with remembering a lot of Pokemon, but when Gen 8 came out, Stonjourner was a Pokemon that just flew under my radar. The only way I knew of Stonjourner's existence was a guy on YouTube ranking all of the Gen 8 mon. And when I saw Stonjourner for the first time, my thoughts were, what is that thing? So I did some digging and found out it was a Pokemon Sword exclusive, which, okay, but yet I knew Galarian Darmanitan was a version exclusive, yet I didn't know of Stonjourner's existence. My curiosity was high, so I kept researching, and after learning it was untiered on Smogon, it became as clear as day as to why I never heard of this dumb rock. For starters, it has probably the smuggest face I've ever seen in Pokemon. And unlike Farigiraf's smug face, which can be seen as charming, Stonjourner's smug face is the kind of face you see when the high school bully makes an awful joke. And while we're on the topic of jokes, let's talk about Stonjourner's impressively awful stats. Now, to be fair to Stonjourner, it does have a tremendously good HP stat of 100, an attack stat of 125, and even a defense stat of 135. Even the speed isn't that bad for Rock-type standards at base 70. Although the special attack stat is bad at only base 20, that's okay. I'm sure no one in their right mind would ever use Stonjourner as a special attacker. Now that special defense and oh my! 20. Base 20 special defense. For context, Carvanha has the same special defense stat. How did this get approved of? Who at Game Freak thought this was okay to let a Pokemon with this dumb of a design have quite literally the lowest special defense stat of all single stage Pokemon? So much as Water Gun can annihilate this thing. I could have ignored Stonjourner's bland design. I could have ignored its useless ability. I could have ignored the subpar speed. And the special attack for that matter. I could have ignored all of Stonjourner's other flaws, but that special defense practically ruins Stonjourner's existence. Wow, just wow. Okay, we gotta move on. Another Pokemon that is similar to Stonjourner in which a single stat ruins it is Banette, but unlike Stonjourner who had one stat ruin it, Banette has multiple stats that ruin it. The puppet's only good stat is its attack stat, which is quite nice at base 115. The second best stat is a base 83 special attack, which, okay, that's pretty fine. And then its third best stat is a base 85 speed stat. Okay, yeah, this thing sucks. It's a glass cannon, but it's missing the cannon part. Banette is most likely going to get taken out before he can do anything at all. And even if Banette could do something, it wouldn't do much, as although that attack stat is excellent, its move pool is so bad. It's almost astonishing that they gave it a good attack stat. The best stab move Banette has is Shadow Claw, a weak base 70 physical move. And for the coverage, there's only Knockoff and Gunk Shot. That's sad. Much like its Mega form, Mega Banette, in my opinion, is the biggest waste of a Mega evolution. Yeah, the attack stat is 165, but it's still slow and frail. Plus, the best thing this thing could do is pull off some status with Prankster Will-O-Wisps and potentially a Destiny Bond, but it's so gimmicky you would never want to use this. And if you are using a gimmick, you would ensure that it's stable and that there's no way it could fall through. Banette as a whole just falls through, which is a real shame as Banette actually has a good design and some pretty scary lore, but you would expect more out of this thing to have such a strong lore as a whole. But yet, here we are, talking about how terrible of a Pokemon Banette is. Do you know who's also a terrible Pokemon? Raticate. That's who. More so, it's a Alolan variant. Game Freak really went, how can we make Raticate even worse? I know! Let's make its speed and offensive stats even worse, improve its bulk, and then strip that away immediately by making it quad weak to fighting moves, give it 2 subpar abilities as well as an ability that decreases the accuracy of every move in favor of power, meaning the likelihood of losing increases, and then just make it look ugly. That's really how they went when they made Alolan Raticate, and that's how I would sum up Alolan Raticate as being my least favorite dark type. It's ugly and it's just weak. Even Purugly is more pleasant than this fat rodent. Heck, I'd say Purugly is even cuter than my least favorite dragon type Pokemon, Druddigon. Like seriously, Druddigon is just straight up hideous to look at. I never liked the design of Druddigon. And while I can respect its origins and inspirations as it's inspired off of a Welsh dragon, That doesn't mean I have to like it because it has some good origins. The design just looks stupid. It's also upsetting that Druddigan has to stand alongside the awesome dragons of Unova, being Haxorus, Hydreigon, and Kyurem. They really have to share their power with this clown. I mean, it could be worse. They could be standing next to the worst shiny in the game. Oh wait. Alrighty, just 2 more types to go, and second to last is my least favorite fairy type, Aromatisse. Now before I talk about Aromatisse, I'd like to give a bit of trivia. The last Pokemon we'll be talking about today almost took Aromatisse's spot, but I feel it's a rather weak way to end off this list with just the same Pokemon twice. So our last Pokemon was spared from appearing twice on this list by the existence of Aromatisse, which is kind of upsetting, but not as upsetting as Aromatisse itself. Fairy's a type that I'm now starting to like more with the inclusion of Fido and past mons like Azumarill. But when Fairy type was introduced, I didn't like the type, and Aromatisse was a huge factor in my disinterest towards the type at the time. It's based on a witch doctor, which is an awesome concept, but then they butchered it by having it be related to freaking perfume. They had an idea and then they just ruined it. The design is almost Hypno territory for me, but unlike Hypno, I can stand being in the same room as it. What I can't stand, though, is situational abilities. Healer and Aroma Veil are good abilities in doubles, but at least its move pool is decent. It actually has more coverage than I'd expect it to have. Like seriously, I didn't expect this dumb bird to have access to Thunderbolt, Flash Cannon, Psychic, Energy Ball, and even Nasty Plot. Aromatisse is actually a decent Pokemon in competitive play. It's just not a good Pokemon in design, and that's what ruins it for me. But it's far more viable than the last Pokemon here today. My least favorite Steel-type Pokemon, Mawile. Now, I just gotta say this right away. I want to like Mawile. I really, really want to like Mawile so bad, but I just can't. There are so many cool things about Mawile I enjoy that it's almost upsetting I can't bring myself to like it. I enjoy its creepy and adorable design. I am impressed at how large its move pool is, and I even find the abilities to be rather impressive. Even Mawile's stats are pretty impressive, as it has an attack stat of... Oh wait, my bad. These are Mega Mawile stats. Let me just take this out and put in the correct stats, and there we go. This is bad. Like, really bad. A base stat total of 380 for a single stage Pokemon? That's upsetting. But believe it or not, that's not what makes me hate Mawile. No, it's the Mega form. Yes, Mawile is capable of Mega Evolution, and it's an absolute monster. Mawile has ludicrously good stats and the huge power ability on top of the excellent power and bulk. But notice that word, Mega. I'm not talking good things about regular Mawile. I'm talking good things about Mega Mawile. And it's right there that it reveals why I dislike Mawile so much. It's a Pokemon that perfectly demonstrates how some Pokemon are straight up useless without a gimmick. Now yes, there are bad Pokemon like Mawile, but these Pokemon aren't reliant on a gimmick. They don't need a special form. They aren't waiting for a miracle to happen. Mawile, ever since it lost its Mega, has been waiting on a miracle. It needs its Mega in order to be good. And you would never want to use regular Mawile. You would only want to use Mega Mawile. And that's why I don't like Mawile. It demonstrates how some Pokemon are only good because of one factor and nothing else. And again, I really want to like Mawile. I really do. But I just can't. Maybe one day I'll like it, but today isn't that day. And there you have it, my least favorite Pokemon of each type. I hope you all enjoyed this video and will tell me what your least favorite Pokemon of each type is down in the comments below. And while you're down there, why not hit the subscribe button? And until next time, you all take care and have a good one. Later.